What is up, boys? Welcome back to another episode of my little channel here. So today we're going to talk about what college hockey coaches look for in players. So right away, we're going to dive into character, which is pretty cool. We're going to read a text here. Let's start with Coach Messuri, Arlington High head hockey coach, Princeton all-time leading goal scorer. I think he played a few preseason games in the NHL. Good AHL career. This is like one of the best coaches in the game. I said, Coach Messuri, can you answer a question for me, and can I quote you? What college coaches actually look for in players? I'd love to quote you as the most successful high school hockey coach in the country. You can quote me. I'm not sure what college coaches look for. Some players, some coaches like. Some players, some coaches don't like. At the end of the day, if they have the right players playing, it will be reflected in their won-loss record. Coaches in any sport at any level do their best to identify what they believe is the right player. However, the elite coaches are not paralyzed by confirmation bias. So basically what he is putting down there is every coach is kind of looking for different things for his different shape, form, or type of system, right? So there's no like breeding card for this, because like, yes, those high character young men in hockey really do often push forward, right? And I'm not talking about like building your own character and being a good guy. I'm talking about like basically the opposite of how I act. Calm, like just chill in the locker room, fits in to the ecosystem of the locker room. The coach just doesn't really have to worry about this guy, and he's a good player, right? So now let's dive into John Olver, who coached in the ECHL for 30 years. Both his sons played in the NHL and got drafted in the NHL. Actually, only one played in the NHL, but both got drafted, and the other one had a 15-year career in the Dell. And John Olver himself is one of the BC Junior Hockey League point leaders, and he is the head coach at Grand Canyon University, where I played this past year. So when I asked John Olver this question, what do college coaches actually look for when recruiting players, he said, sure. When I evaluate players, obviously the first thing I look for is skill. Skating, puck skills, and hockey IQ. But for me, the personal character traits are the intangibles that sets players apart. Great players are generally special men. Do they have high character, mental toughness, work ethic, and coachability? Are they great teammates, and are they selfless? So let's dive into this stuff. So a lot of players at this high level, right, like they're just really, really, really good. And they haven't had to do a lot of those team-winning habits, like putting your body on the line for the boys, dumping the puck in, playing ferociously hard. And one thing in John Olver's system and what he's looking for is he's looking for tough kids, right? Like he's looking for kids that are going to listen to him, play his system, and just get it done. And a lot of the times, a lot of kids where they fall off, not being coachable and not being able to adapt to these systems and just thinking they know it all on their own just because they're skilled, and just using that skill. Because skill and talent can only take you so far if you can't play in your team's system. So we just got an opinion from a guy who's best friends with the head coach at Northeastern, and we got an opinion from a former NCAA D1 head coach himself, and a guy who coached in the East Coast Hockey League for 30 years, right? And where this kind of comes all together for me is when coaches are recruiting, they're looking for the whole package, right? They're looking for a kid who's going to check all their dots. Grades, skill, like do you pass the eye test, the D1 eye test? Half the kids that play D1 don't pass the eye test. It's just we live in a sad world where dad can make a phone call and get you on the team. It stinks, but this video isn't for those kids. This is for like kids who are actually trying to make it. And in that third point is, yeah, they do look at your family, right? Like they'll call people up, they'll find out what your parents are like. If you got an alcoholic parent, like they will find that out, which is crazy. And they will use that stuff against you. They don't want kids who don't have families supporting them. Because, yeah, it's not fair often, yeah, but, right, it's way easier to deal with a kid who mom and dad will throw money at the problem and help them out all the time. Like, nothing's ever going to go wrong. That's easier. So they just kind of want, like, look at that first overall draft pick. Do you hear him speak about himself and stuff? Like, he's media trained and stuff. Like, they want players who are really good players, but also just, like, check all those outside, like, not going to be a problem, great locker room guys, stuff like that. So now let's dive. So now that we've kind of covered, like, all that stuff away from being a hockey player, let's talk about, like, what NCAA Division I coaches are actually looking for. So now with the major junior rule, right, they're really only looking at major junior players. And then, I mean, I think most of the USHL guys will still go D1. I don't think it's still going to be, like, high-end Division I anymore. I think the BCHL guys and the USHL guys will take a hit on what you're not going to Michigans and stuff like that anymore, I don't think. I think the Null just became a really good Division III feeder. And anything below that is just, we're not even talking about Division I hockey. So that's how competitive this just got. Keep in mind, a few years ago, like, the NCDC was feeding kids in D1. That's just not going to happen in the future. So basically, these coaches want size, speed, skill, the whole package. And you need to be able to, like, when they call and they ask about you, like, family, coachability, your past record, like, this all needs to add up. Now, playing Division I as a forward, you usually need to be around a point per game in juniors. As a defenseman, you probably got to be over 6 feet, have good feet, be able to move. And it's all just about, like, being, like, they're looking for athletic hockey players, right? And what I found at this, like, at the college level is the kids who do all the things right and are, like, really good and stuff, some kids just aren't athletic, and that will expose you at this level. So working really hard outside of your gear on, like, just your training, your diet, all that stuff, I think that's, like, 10 times more important than guys really portray. Because what I've noticed playing at really high levels and some pretty low levels is, like, when I was at those high levels, like, those guys had that stuff taken care of. Like, they were dialed in with all that stuff. So obviously I can't really give you, like, a straight answer to this question, exactly what a D1 coach is looking for, because they're looking for so many different things, man. But I hope this kind of, like, gives you a scope of where you're at, what you could change going forward, and just maybe add in a few things here and there to help you out along the way. See you, boys.